Africities Summit 2015 officially closed on day 5 of the summit with keynote addresses by the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Park Stau, and AU President Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. She reminded everyone of the important role of women in Africa's development agenda. There were other landmark resolutions adopted at the 7th edition of Africities.
First of all, we confirm the resolve to keep local government of this continent united, not avoid any division among us. Secondly, we say that we have a buy-in into Agenda 2063 and to the Sustainable Development Goals, but that they will be effective only if they are localized, because all business is local. Thirdly, we said we need to put out of this continent xenophobia, discrimination, and all sorts of hurdles that impede the development of this continent. And you heard the President of the African Union Commission saying that even an African Union passport is envisioned so that people move freely across the continent, because the free movement was the practice of this continent. And only the conference in Berlin in 1885 changed the way Africans are going across the borders. We didn't have borders even. Fourth, insistence on the role of women and youth in any development endeavor on this continent. And not only in talk shows, but in effective implementation. And fifth, having a strong resolve to build transparency and integrity in local government. This is key to build trust between people. There is an implementation, a monitoring and implementation. We invited 18 stakeholders. Each of the stakeholders are designated one person who will follow up the implementation and report back at the next Africities in Brazzaville.
We all know that Kwame Nkrumah said Africa must unite or perish. So that must be something that we hold dear in everything we do. But secondly, local government is at the cold face, really, of the improvement of people's lives. National government is very important, provincial or regional government is very important, but local government is at the cold face. And Agenda 2063 is really about how to get Africa to become a prosperous, integrated, peaceful continent, driven by its citizens and playing a dynamic role in the world. And there's no way we can achieve that without full involvement of local government.
In many ways, we say in South Africa, local government in reality is where the rubber hits the road. The reality is that when we talk about sustainability in cities, when we talk about human settlements, when we talk about urbanization, when we talk about migration, when we talk about access to services, the responsibility lies with the local authority. It remains our duties to ensure that our people have access to water, sanitation, electricity, housing, and that we're able to facilitate local economic development.
UN Habitat, a key stakeholder of Africities Summit, reflects on the occasion, specifically on key areas of implementation, and elaborates further on the overall success of the summits.
This Africity 7 taking place here in Johannesburg is at the crossroads of the all 6 previous one. This one is taking place immediately after the Sustainable Development Goal was approved in New York last September, and also is taking place at the same time as the COP21 right now taking place in Paris, which, as you know, should define, after Kyoto, a new protocol for the world in terms of environment. Now, this Africity is certainly also very important for UN Habitat and as a partner of African mayors and local government, because we are preparing for Habitat 3, which will take place, as you may know, in Quito, in Ecuador, in October 2016. All this context, and again this backdrop, the Africity Summit is taking place here in Johannesburg. Certainly, the difference is that African mayors and local government are gaining importance in the view of the international agenda. They are not alone. They are working with their colleagues at the global level in UCLG, United Cities and Local Government, which is accompanied by UN Habitat over the last 20 years to make a difference in their policy and program. I think for me and other practitioner of Africities since the beginning, we are very delighted to see that the theme of urbanization, the fighting against urban poverty, the improving of the living condition of the urban dwellers has come to the fore. When I listened to Minister Hadebe from the presidencies, I was absolutely amazed to what extent from South Africa, local government of Africa have already embracing the important role in urbanization. There are 3 fundamental pillars that we look forward to these mayors coming from Johannesburg, implementing the agenda that is coming out of here, will be dealing with the whole issue of urban planning. Hadebe has insisted on the cities in Africa to avoid being in disorder, being in a very chaotic environment. They have to plan. But UN Habitat is also insisting for a very sound and very vibrant economic environment. If you don't produce at the cities will be poor. And the cities are engine of economic development. Without cities and their economics, you may say that the GDP of our African countries will be nowhere, because African cities are producing over 65% of the GDP in our countries. So therefore, this particular Africities is also coming out very strong to give the role and responsibility to the youth. We have come with a very strong engagement for implementation and monitoring. You know, in the past, goal has been taken, declaration has been put in, but they was not able to fully implement and monitor the implementation. This time around, with the data revolution taking place within the United Nations system, UN Habitat has come with the City Prosperity Initiative, along with the other Human Development Index and other. But this SDG in particular has to be implemented and to be monitored. But in so doing, you need to have a baseline. And that baseline from this particular unfinished business of the Millennium Development Goal, the mayors and local authorities with their government has to implement this Millennium Development Goal. For UN Habitat, we have offered our expertise and our capacity, be it on the issue of use, be it on the issue of climate change, on the issue of planning or the issue of safety and security. We have come up with very bold tools that we are offering to local government of Africa to implement the recommendation coming out of this conference. We are looking forward to Habitat 3, which is our defining agenda. As I said it earlier on, it's not only here in Johannesburg, but worldwide. National government, city government are embracing urbanization for the first time. We are very happy because urbanization is the motto for making sustainable development. In Habitat, we said there will be no sustainable development without sustainable urbanization. And therefore, we are looking forward to urbanization being the drivers of the economy at the global level. And this agenda is also important because it will not only be an agenda of the South, but it will be a global agenda. For that one, we need to improve the living condition of the people living in Africa in very abject poverty condition. As you may know, over 60% of African dwellers today, urban dwellers, are living in slum condition. This is not acceptable. We need to contribute to in making the environment safe, because without sustainable environment, you cannot make sure that you have a safe and sustainable development. We hope that the COP21 will be contributing to give us an index that we can measure and that we can implement. Another important thing is the economy. As I said it, Habitat is contributing a lot to make the index of the African cities work. And for that one, we are proposing our national urban policy, and we are proposing our city prosperity index, which is a very defined and select tool tested, which can give to local authority the benchmark that they need to advance forward. But will not forget one important provision, which is energy as part of the basic urban services. In UN Habitat, we want to make African cities and dwellers have access to safe water and safe sanitation. But among others, we need to equip Africa with energy. Without energy, there is no industrialization. Without industrialization, there will be no development. We need to equip Africa with a lot of energy for them to make moving. But another important issue that we are also pushing and monitor from here, it is the resilience of cities. Cities have to be proof resilient in order to save the investment, save their population, and save against any disaster that may come in. As you may know, unfortunately, across population growth and climate change, at that node is what we call climate change and urban resilience. It's absolutely important.
Africities 2015 was engaging and inspirational for anyone in attendance. The atmosphere here was that of committed collaboration, which was put in perspective in the manner in which dialogues were carried out. This was a committed way of respecting individuality and all views and contributions being made. Dialogue here means we see each other and we hear each other. The adoptions of the resolutions of Africities 2015 begins now. Hence, a new Africa has been born. We thank you for watching and participating in Africities 2015 via africities.tv.